So in this short demo, we're going to look at some of the features for sales guys, and particularly teleworkers, who are typically making a relatively large volume of calls in a given day on a list of leads or a contact list. The first thing to say is, if you've looked at any of the other videos of LAMP, you see we've got a very cut down version here of the menus and the dashboards. In fact, we show some marketing things here and some admin which you probably wouldn't have, and we've got some very simple calls, notes and contacts here. So the sales menu has our list of contacts, any sales opportunities we created, and campaign responses, which is basically leads. We can look at simple activities like calls and tasks and things, and we can have calling lists, and typically that would be a target group. The other thing I'd like to point out is that if anyone's ever got any concerns about using LAMP, we have built-in help facilities. So if I was on the sales, I'd say, let me use this getting started, walk me, and then the system takes me through. In this case, it has a video. Then we go on to the next step, and it says, right, let's talk about the dashboard, looks at the activity stream. So it basically takes you through all of the key aspects and key processes within LAMP, so that the training, whilst we would recommend doing some training for users, the system itself can certainly help you. So when we're doing calling, we'll often be working from a target list, and here's a few target lists. This is a lot of test data in here, and if we select a particular target group, and these target groups will only be presented depending on the campaign or project that a user is working in, so they're not given huge lists to select from and potentially choose the wrong one. Here I'll go into this target group, and we can see a list of contacts here and their grading status, so I can see whether or not they've been called, etc., and I could just quickly go into them or open them up in a new tab. So one of the key interfaces for LAMP, however, is the contact record, and there's a number of aspects of this that are set up to be helpful to a sales user. I won't go through every aspect of contacts, but because that's covered in other videos. But a couple of things down here, we can see all the responses that a person has made, if there are any, which campaigns they've responded to. They may have a lead score. We can see the history of emails that have been sent to them, any web pages they've looked at, and so on and so forth. So we can start to build up a really good view of what's happened to this prospect, including activities, calls that have been made and are planned, and any notes that have been made to that particular prospect. We also have inside view. This can be very useful, which is really pulling together social media for this person. Here's a guy called Julian Poulter, and if it's got a match to his LinkedIn profile, it'll be there, or his Twitter. You can see this guy's done a whole load of tweets, and you could go directly to those and it showed them the most recent ones there. So if you'd seen that somebody had interacted by downloading one of your white papers or watched a video and had tweeted on a related subject, you've got a conversational topic there that might be very useful to start building a relationship. And then we've also got a link through to this guy's Facebook page or company page as well. And so inside view can be quite a useful tool. So there's a couple of things really just to show that have worked out for teleworkers. One is the overall sale process, which is where the grading of calls can be done here. And if I look at a list of contacts, I can always select them by these grades. So I could just say, show me the ones that I haven't called yet, or show me the ones where I've got a callback scheduled, etc., etc. So it's very easy to navigate around those lists. We often recommend a best practice process of qualifying leads to the point of being an MQL, and these are the 5 MQL criteria. So is it the right profile? Do they have the problem? Do they understand our proposition? Do they have reason to move forward now in terms of timescale? And will they accept sales contact? Now, if we've got those 5 things, we've got a pretty good lead. It doesn't qualify from perspective of budget and various other things like that, and that's really a sales job, but it's a certain level of qualification, and this will automatically create a sales of type content, of type MQL. Now, as you're building a relationship with this person, you will be having conversations, and you will make notes, and when you've only got 1 or 2 notes, for instance, when you've not really spoken to somebody, you could just use this little note area here, and you can extend that slightly. But you've also got this ability to copy note, and what this will do is when you save this record, it will archive this note down to the notes archive. So over time, as you start to build a relationship with people and you perhaps speak to them many times over weeks or months, you could have a good history here of notes to review, along with other activities like phone calls, etc. So at the end of a call, typically there's a few things that you want to do. First of all, you log the call just to recognize that you had called somebody previously, and here's examples where I've done that. And if and when I do log a call, it will also record the notes at that time and the grading, so that you've got the context of the call. We might want to schedule a call back, and again, rather than having to go down to a sub tab and say schedule a meeting and fill in the dialogue there, I can just check on the box schedule call and set the date and time here. I'll set that for next week. Or in a couple of weeks time, and that then is created when I save this record. We could also create a sales opportunity if we've got something serious that we're going to sell these people. The fact that we've determined the 5 MQL criteria, this will in fact save us an MQL opportunity. So at the moment we haven't got an MQL opportunity, but because it says we've determined these 5 things, when we save this record it will do that for us. So again, it just reduces the number of clicks. Stream is not set up here because we're not actually logged into a particular campaign, but in a campaign you may have a number of streams that are really for email communication, and this allows you to change that. And also you might want to fulfill this with sending an email. So if we click on the email pop-up here, that appears. We may have multiple email personas to select from, or not. It depends on how the system's set up. And if you're working in LAMP, we have multiple client options. If you're working for a different client, here we're just working for a client or a division called testing, which is probably why there's nothing set up. Any emails that go out will be related to that testing division. If you then work for a different client or a different division, emails will also go out for that, and that's a sort of a fail-safe. And what I can do here is under options that I can go to templates, and I've got some fairly rubbish things here, but I've got an email template. But for some reason that's just come up behind, excuse me, and that will then pop up, and here's an email template with all the graphics and things that I can in fact edit, and then I could send directly to this person. So if I now save this record, what we'll see, we're just back in what we call the detail view rather than the edit view. We've created a new note here, and in terms of activities, we've logged and planned another call, and we've now created a sales opportunity. So once you've got the hang of using this, it's a question of editing the contact, setting the grading, setting the MQL criteria if you're using that part of the process, and then typically editing a note and filling in or checking these other boxes, and then it's save this record and move on to the next one. So it's trying to really simplify the interface and all the tasks that are required at the end of making a phone call to a prospect or a customer. Thank you.